Hey, according to an article I saw the other day, I'm going to live longer and I'm not going to have a heart attack. Let's see. Right, reading from the screen. The ketogenic diet has the potential to decrease all-cause mortality without a concomitant increase in cardiovascular related mortality. It's open access. Read it or skim through it to the graphs or read the conclusion. Your choice. You'll notice it says potential. So keto, maybe longer life, maybe no bad effects on the heart, maybe equals maybe not as well. Significant indication that it does. It's a rather nice study and it's very heartening to me. That's good, isn't it? Heartening, yeah. But this kind of study is not proof. It was a retrospective study based on food questionnaires and NHANES data. It's actually quite a good study of its type, but it's observational data, association, but that doesn't mean to say it's causation. But I quite like it because I like what it says. I'm biased, aren't I? Okay, quoting from the paper. On the one hand, reducing carbohydrate intake and enhancing insulin sensitivity may confer beneficial effects on cardiovascular risk factors such as blood pressure and lipid levels. I like that bit. Conversely, the high fat content of the ketogenic diet, particularly saturated fat, may exert detrimental effects on lipid metabolism, trigger inflammatory responses, and augment CVD risk. Yeah, I'm not so happy about that bit, but then I said I'm rather biased in favour of the ketogenic diet, and I personally don't see anything wrong with saturated fat. Maybe it'll be sunny or maybe it'll rain. The intro begins with the metabolic switch to fat burning and ketone synthesis. So can I do my fuel gauge thing, please? I do like doing that, you know, fuel gauges. Okay. Something I dug out of another research paper. Usage is proportional to concentration of supply to the cells or the mitochondria. So high glucose supply, use glucose. High ketone or fatty acid supply, use fats, and presumably you can do some sort of 50-50. Right. Notice brain and heart, quite happy to use ketones or glucose. Skeletal muscle, fatty acids or glucose. Another research paper said that skeletal muscle wasn't actually that keen on using ketones. Interesting. But was happy with fatty acids themselves. Yes, I wanted to say, do not confuse this part with eating fat carb ratios. Don't get that confused. This is about fuel supply in the cell. All right? Okay, I want to go over this point again because I think it's very important not to get it muddled. The question is, what do I want to burn in my cells? Quoting from the paper, this metabolic switch is believed to offer various health advantages, including improved insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammation, and enhanced cognitive function. Yay! Okay. What most cells burn is flexible and proportional to supply. Supply is a bit of a vague word. What do I mean? Supply in the cell, supply in the interstitial fluid, in the blood, supply in the diet. A bit vague. Oh yeah, don't confuse this with the more on-off nature of the supply switch itself. I'm going to call it the ketone supply switch. Okay. I've also noted some cells really do prefer glucose or ketones, but that does not mean we must eat glucose, sugar, carbs, or ketones. Do not get this muddled either. The requirement for carbohydrate in the diet is 0. There are no essential carbs. Donkeys years ago, I used to say, yes, there are essential amino acids, proteins, there are essential fats, fatty acids, but there are no essential. No, I never actually said that. I never actually thought about that. I never said, no. So let's get this straight. If a cell has a supply of glucose and a supply of ketones, it may use mainly ketones if it prefers ketones. It may use mainly glucose if it prefers glucose. It may use some half and half mixture. If there's only glucose, you cannot burn ketones, obviously. If they're not there, you can't burn them. So back to my ketone supply switch. So how do we supply mainly ketones to the cell, or a good proportion of ketones to the cell? So in other words, how do we get a decent level of euketonemia? I like that word. Assuming we want to be in ketosis, nobody is forcing you. To increase the supply of ketones available in the cell, and therefore the possibility of burning the things, we need to switch to ketone production from fat. We need to start fat burning. In order to do that, you need to dial down the insulin supply from the pancreas, because the hormone insulin tells the body to store fat, not burn it. This is the start of the switching process. Dial down the insulin. So we want the body to say, don't store fat, burn it. And while you're doing it, please make some ketones, which are little bits of fatty acids, little chunks, good fuel. So how do we dial down the insulin? Insulin is secreted from the pancreas in response to glucose levels rising in the blood, assuming you are not type 1 diabetic, of course. Glucose level rising in the blood is usually in response to eating carbohydrate, any carb with glucose, which is most, but not all. Starch equals glucose. Starch molecules are big molecules made up of little glucose molecules stuck together. So don't be fooled. Don't eat carb or not much of the stuff. That's what we got to do. To dial down the insulin, we need to dial down the carb, particularly the glucose. So if we go to my fuel gauges, fuel in the diet, we want very low carbs in the diet. High fat. If you're not going to eat carbs, you've got to eat something, haven't you? All right. Blood cell insulin supply is going to be low. If you don't stimulate insulin production, that's going to be down. That means fat burning is going to go up, and fat storage hopefully will go down. Fat burning goes up, so ketone synthesis is going to increase. But you've got to have low carbs. It's not going to work if you have high fat and high carbs. It just doesn't work, because you're going to secrete insulin and it's going to bugger up the whole thing. So don't think you can get away with high fat and high carbs. No, sorry, it doesn't work like that. High fat, low carbs. Back to the paper. To quote them, the ketogenic diet has been used for decades in the treatment of childhood epilepsy. Yes, I'd also say it's been used for diabetes and obesity for 100 years or more. 1797, wasn't that the first pamphlet about it published? I don't remember. Keto diet maybe has been tested for hundreds of thousands of years, maybe a million or two. What about the Inuits? Eskimos, I used to call them. Arctic explorers, when they get stranded and they have to eat nothing but whale blubber or something, I don't know. Maasai warriors, what about our evolutionary past? And what about Ice Age winters? Haven't we had a lot of ketogenic diets in our past for one reason or another? Mentioning the study design and methodology, they had a DKR, a dietary ketogenic ratio, which they had worked out from the questionnaires. They'd worked out how much fat, how much carbohydrate and protein and things people were eating. It's my phone just went ping ping. It's obviously going to be inaccurate, relies on memories and honesty, but somewhat balanced out by huge numbers of subjects. As I said at the end, more research needed. Oh, the results. Oh yes, that was interesting. Results. How many people died? Median follow-up of 9.1 years. This is quoting from them, we observed a significant inverse association between DKR, keto, and risk of all-cause mortality. So the graph of increasing DKR, increasing ketogenic dietness, was going that way. All-cause mortality, dying of something, anything, went the other way. That's nice to know. 24% they said, but was that relative or absolute? Well, it's going to be a relative effect. That doesn't kind of fit with the switch idea. But it would fit with, it wouldn't fit with this sudden switch to keto and everything's great. But it would fit with take less sugar, life gets a bit better, lose a bit of weight, cut the junk food a bit more, a bit healthier in general, reduce carbs a bit more, even better, even if you're not in ketosis. Take a bit more exercise, as you are now more able to. So it would fit with this kind of linear progression as you cut the carbs and maybe improve other aspects of your lifestyle. Still not in ketosis, that switch has not flipped. But you have fewer insulin spikes, reduced calorie input maybe, don't count calories but don't totally ignore them. Yes, so I have to get to grips with the fact that you have this linear relationship, and I would rather see sort of this sudden switch, but I'm not going to see it. But I can understand what's going on there. Metabolism functioning better, less weight to carry, more energy. Do you need to go further? Oh, this is the point. Do you need to flip that switch? Because you have this linear relationship. Things are getting better as you improve your diet. Yeah, I can see that. Do you actually need to flip the switch and go into ketosis? Well, I did, because this point achieved many times by me before in my diets. I was still eating too many carbs because I'd lose the weight, I'd change my lifestyle a bit, but somehow I was dragged back into eating more carbs and getting fatter again. It just never worked for me. Moving on quickly, no discernible association between DKR and CVD. Great. The KD, Ketogenic Diet, exerts a multifaceted effect on all-cause mortality, facilitates weight loss, attenuates inflammation, enhances insulin sensitivity. These factors play a pivotal role in reducing risk of chronic conditions such as diabetes, CVD, and cancer. The ketogenic diet demonstrated neuroprotective effects. My brain's going to be okay. Ketones possess anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. The authors also say that the ketogenic diet fosters the proliferation of beneficial bacteria, gut bacteria. There's a weird sentence in the article. Despite its high saturated fat content, the diet primarily comprises unsaturated fats, which have been linked to a decreased risk of heart disease. They seem to be making a sort of apology for their findings. Amazing. Does a typical keto diet primarily comprise unsaturated fats? I think not. And is there really good, consistent, unbiased evidence against saturated fats? Bottom line for me, it's a heartening study. Boom, 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 boom. Take it with a pinch of salt, literally, if you're keto. Need plenty of salt. It's association, not causation, so it's not proof, but it is quite a nice study. And as I say, I am biased in its favour, aren't I? Because I'm keto. I'm keto. I'm really happy to be keto. Yeah. With the information, you can do what you will. Enjoy.